What do all of these primary weapons have in common? Well, let me show you. Try to notice what happens when I shoot suspects in this Sins of the Father map and how each suspect behaves.
Get back! I promise I won't hurt you. Damn it. Fuck! Shit, what are you doing?
Proceed with mission.
Now, why am I talking about a 7.62 in hard mode? Also, didn't you just say that 7.62 wasn't that great for hard mode? Now, the 7.62 round is actually the worst weapon to pick when you are playing on hard mode. Yes, I did. But, like any intelligent person, we can learn and take new data in and change our minds. And boy, with all this testing and experimentation, I have changed my mind. Because there was one thing I was failing to take into consideration when I was testing the 7.62 round. I was ignoring a very important stat the 7.62 round has that other rounds do not have. The 7.62 round has a 100% chance to stun when hitting targets' body armor. And with a JHP 7.62 round, it has a 30% chance of stunning a target on hard mode when hitting unarmored limbs or body parts. Now, let's actually rewatch that clip that I just showed you. For the first suspect in the clip, it wasn't an issue, but then when I come around the corner and engage that target, I'm going to actually talk about something that is actually pretty significant. So I come around the corner and I am taking shots and I actually hit the target, and it also stops him from shooting me, which is also in turn obviously going to keep you alive. You're obviously going to take less damage to ceramic plates. If you're wearing steel, you're obviously going to get shot less and probably have less chance of actually dying. Also, if you're playing in a group, this will be a significant improvement on keeping your team alive. Even if you hit one shot, let's say in the leg or one shot in the body, there's a high chance, or if not 100% chance, that they will be stunned whenever you are shooting at them, and therefore having your buddies stay alive more often. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What about the 5.56 round? How does it compare to the 7.62? Is the 5.56 still really good for hard mode? And while the 5.56 doesn't actually have a 100% chance to stun a target, it still does have a chance to stun a target. But there is an issue that arises when using a 5.56 round, and that's because when you use a 5.56 round armor piercing, which is what you're going to be using when you are using a 5.56 round, simply because the JHP won't really do well versus most armors on most maps, and because JHP is actually a little bit worse when it comes to actually dealing with armored opponents, it's not going to be performing as well as a 7.62 round across the board when you are interacting with those armored suspects. And the big reason why you want to use JHP rounds, aka jacketed hollow point, is because when you do miss, and let's say you hit an arm or a shoulder, that will be a significant help, and it has a higher chance of actually stunning the target. Now, just like the 7.62 round and any other round, there is a percentage chance to stun with every type of round. Those weapons at the start were the ones that have the highest actual stun percent chance to stun a target, shooting at them in the armor plate or shooting them on limbs or exposed or unarmored targets. And another thing about these weapons is that they're all capable of, generally speaking, dealing with medium level armor. So you can use all of these weapons in an all-purpose setting without having to worry about specific rounds per map and not having that ability to stun targets. But they all have the ability to deal with medium level armor when you are using a JHP round, which is the most important aspect of it. Armor piercing rounds can actually stun targets when shooting an unarmored location, but the issue is it's so low that the odds of it happening aren't really reliable to have. Now, while having a 7.62 round that does have a very decent chance of stunning a target with no armor on it, it still has a significantly higher chance than an armor piercing round and any other JHP round comparatively, therefore making the 7.62 round kind of an all-purpose working weapon for any situation. It's going to be more reliable and it's going to deal consistent damage. And of course, all of those previous things I just discussed earlier, with a better chance of actually helping your team stay alive because they're going to get shot, generally speaking, a little bit less. Now let's take a look at the 5.56 rounds and what they're kind of used for a lot of the time, and why they've kind of been dubbed kind of the best ammunition, generally speaking, for hard mode. So let's just take a look at the best rifles for 5.56, which is definitely going to be the MCX. Now, obviously, why the MCX is one of the best rifle, if not the best rifle, is its recoil control. it's very easy to shoot its per shot recoil as well as its full auto recoil. So that means whenever you are trying to acquire a target, you can easily look at that target and acquire them from distances and remain accurate with a lot of rounds through this weapon. And then when it comes to the other 5.56 rounds that are very much praised, like the G36C, of course, it's the same thing. Pinpoint accuracy, very low recoil. If not, it just feels like there's no recoil at all sometimes. Like, honestly, just look at this laser beam. I'm just going to shoot here. What? I barely move my mouse. This is why these weapons are very exceptional. And they are still very useful and very strong. It's not like these weapons are completely useless or even outdated or shouldn't even be used. These do have different types of purposes. But the important thing to note with the 5.56 is that you're going to be using armor-piercing rounds when you are using 5.56 for the obvious reason is that you're trying to kill targets who usually have medium level armor or higher. So you do need to have those higher penetrating rounds for that kill speed. Now, if you're using JHP with a 5.56, generally speaking, on the majority of levels, you're going to come across with targets that have body armor. And that means there's going to be more shots. That means you're going to have to be more accurate. You're going to have to hit, headshots or body shots very accurately. And your kill speed and your kill effectiveness is going to go down dramatically when you are using JHP. But that's not going to be the case with 7.62 rounds simply because their kill power is so high. And because of their basic guaranteed 100% stun chance when hitting body armor with either armor piercing or JHP, it's going to be really great for making it so any targets that you shoot, even if you do require an extra round or two, they're going to go down very reliably and they're going to stop firing at you, being unable to actually fire back. Now, obviously, with most 7.62 weapons, they are slower firing. So in a sense, it does have slower kill time, obviously, because each shot is going to be slightly slower, but the first shot is going to stun them 100% of the time, as I said, when you are hitting that body armor. Now, most 7.62 weapons do have things bad about them, like the Mark 17. Takes a very long time to swap between items. Same with the M14S16. It's the same thing. Great weapon, technically. It does have higher recoil, of course. Generally speaking, if you are looking at the 7.62 weapons, you are going to want to use the G3A3. It does have a longer barrel. I wouldn't recommend using the suppressor because it does make the barrel much longer and it's a little bit harder to go around tighter corners or doors. Obviously, you can have a pistol for that type of thing, but a lot of the time you lose your kill effectiveness and your kill speed. So a lot of the time, what I really recommend, which is kind of funny, the first time I ever made this video talking about what was the best weapon back in the day when Hardmode didn't exist, was the GA51. And why? It's a shorter barrel. It has great recoil reduction for its ammo type, and you can even use SRO dots. I actually like to use the no optic simply because the height over bore is more accurate. So when I am taking shots, I'm a bit more accurate. Also provides me a slightly more visual acquisition when I'm aiming and looking around. And the Tundra suppressor, even though it does have the lowest recoil reduction out of all of the brakes, it does help with the stress and morale of suspects. Basically, whenever you are shooting at suspects, they are going to behave differently and more aggressively if they're more stressed out. A lot of the time, a suppressor will cut that stress in half. Now, while you might not see this difference happen so often that you're like, oh, I noticed that I'm using a suppressor and it feels a little bit different, it does reduce your radius of sound slightly, not by much. If you are yelling, it is going to kind of negate the effectiveness of a suppressor. So that's why you're going to want to bash a lot of the time with these types of things. But once again, you can overcome all of these issues using a 7.62 and have the benefit of having 100% stun chance when you are hitting that body armor. And the reason why the 7.62 round is so awesome as well is that when you switch to JHP, you have that bonus stun chance on that flesh unarmored target. So if you are fighting targets that are unarmored and you shoot them basically anywhere, it does have a really, really high chance of actually stunning. In comparison, and when it comes to the 5.56, they just don't have the penetrating ability to destroy most armor. The 7.62 does. So it really is an all-purpose, amazing weapon. Good for everything and a very strong weapon. The only thing that might suffer slightly, it's going to be so slightly, it's probably not going to matter because of all the benefits with the stunning. And because you're going to have more bleed chance with JHP, your kill effectiveness will actually go up in some sense. If, let's say, if you shoot a suspect and a stray bullet hits them and it bleeds them, awesome, they're dead. Obviously, you do have to wait the timer out for them to bleed out and die, but it is going to be a much more kill effectiveness weapon overall, going to have a higher bleed chance. Well, AP does have a small chance to bleed. It's not as high with any type of weapon type. So the JHP is always going to be better with that kind of kill effectiveness, even though it might make them bleed and it takes a long time to die. It's still going to be able to stun them more frequently and save your life in more opportunities. And don't get me wrong, the 5.56 still has a decent chance of stunning the target. It's just not 100%. Now, as I said, 7.62 rounds do all have 100% chance on the body armor, which is shooting any part like this vest, and underneath the arms. The arms are not covered by armor. So if you are shooting suspects, make sure you're shooting them kind of center mass. The first one will stun, and then try to shoot for head. So it's like basically 2 shots guaranteed kill. And then for the 5.56, for example, you're going to have to shoot a flurry of bullets, generally speaking. So you'll probably be kind of just auto picking basically the MCX for the situation. Now, when it comes to the other SLR 47, which is a 7.62 round, but it's a smaller round, it's a 7.62 by 39 millimeter. It doesn't have a 100% chance to stun, but it does have a higher chance to stun. And it has a higher chance to stun with JHP, which can still take out medium armor. And of course, you do get 30 rounds with this weapon as well. So it's kind of just a 7.62 weapon that's kind of has a bit of benefits of both the 7.62 by 51 millimeter. And then for the 5.56, right, it has the 30 extended mag. It does have a lot of recoil. I do recommend suppressor. This is just my personal loadout, but definitely put a suppressor on this whenever you are using this. It's going to help a lot with the recoil, and as well as the bonus to the reduction to stress as well to the suspects. So definitely use a suppressor for this weapon. It does have a good kick to it. I just like the sound it makes. That's why I don't put a suppressor on it. So when it comes to the other weapons, this one sadly is just, it's not good. Sadly, it kind of bums me to say this. Like, I wish this weapon had higher stun chance, because it's kind of in the middle ground of like being basically a 7.62, where it does okay damage. It's kind of like in the middle of the damage in terms of 7.62 and the 5.56. When you do use this, make sure you're using armor piercing, and not to mention, like, honestly, like the barrel length. This is absolutely going to be used as like a long range weapon, obviously, and it does excel at that. Of course, that's what it's kind of designed around and being good at. But this does have a very low stun chance, so don't rely on this for stun chance. This is something different. It's not that great. You can use this weapon as well. 7.62, very awesome, but it does have higher recoil than most other 7.62s. So as I said, you do want to use these two primary for 7.62. You can get away with using the Mark 17 and the M14S16, but like the slow swap speed, which I can just show you really quickly here, it does take a long time to swap. So like this is, I have my primary out, I swap my pistol, and I'm gonna swap back. This is a really long time to swap back, and I can show you comparatively what it kind of looks like when using another weapon. So the GA51, very much quicker. This is when you're like important when you're throwing a grenade and you're swapping back and you gotta shoot, right? It's just gonna help. You're gonna swap to like C4, you're gonna swap between items, C2, blah, 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 blah. You're gonna blow the door, you're gonna shoot. It's just better to have it, like quicker swap speed. And there's nothing really more beneficial with these other weapons to take them except the fire rate, but then the recoil is crazy high. So it's just these two top 7.62 weapons is what you want to kind of stick with. As I said, the 5.56, still good weapon, still has a chance to stun on body. But when you shoot those arms, it's going to have a low chance of stunning them. That's kind of where that kind of falls off, right? And if you do end up taking, let's say, for example, JHP with a 5.56 round, you're going to be less effective against the armor, and you're going to have to shoot way more times. It can still stun the same amount percentage as a regular AP, but when you hit flesh, it's going to have a higher chance. But you don't want that because obviously it doesn't penetrate the armor. So if you are going to use a 5.56 round still, obviously I still recommend G36C, the MCX, and the Mark 16. The SR16 I think has some issues. I've been trying to figure out a lot of the issues. Sometimes they go away and come back. I don't know what it is. Really weird weapon. I always have weird interactions with this weapon a lot, and I've honestly been trying to figure that out. And as I said before, if you're using 7.62, it's the G3A3 and the GA51. So when it comes to the blackout, the blackout is very similar to a round of the SLR 47. It's kind of like best of both worlds in some sense, where you have 30 round mag. you have a decent chance to stun, and you can use JHP, so you have a decent chance to stun against unarmored targets and flesh. So absolutely, 300 Blackout is another awesome, reliable weapon across the board as well. It does have less chance to stun. It's not 100% chance, but it is a better percent chance to stun than a 5.56. And you have the use of having JHP ammunition for that extra stun chance on the flesh and unarmored targets. So to conclude this, honestly, BA51 suppressor, whatever sight you enjoy using, this will be extremely effective no matter where you go. Make sure it's JHP. It might take 2 or 3 shots, as you kind of saw in one of the clips, because when you are shooting targets with higher armor, it will, even though it does say a good serviceable effectiveness against heavy armor, it may take 1 or 2 more shots, but they're stunned, so it's easy pickings. So you can, like, you know, body shot, line them up, headshot, 2 shots still, 2-shot kill time. But you're going to have better lifetime with protecting your teammates and yourself from getting shot at from those suspects. So, and let me know what you think. Do you feel like you're going to start using that 7.62, or do you feel like you're just going to go with old reliable and use a 5.56, or, you know, just always go for the buckshot? If you guys have any questions about anything, let me know. If you guys have any questions about like buckshot or slug, I can talk about that. Any other, you know, ammunition or rounds, if you're curious, just ask in the comments. MP7 is also, generally speaking, a very good weapon as well. It has decent stun chance, but obviously it's the ammunition and the, like, it has a 40 round mag, and you can still use JHP to take out medium targets. This is another awesome weapon. Doesn't have a high stun chance, but it has the JHP stun chance against the flesh. So in a way, it's kind of like a 5.56 basically, but it has the benefit of when you are shooting targets that are unarmored or, you know, flesh, as I said, like limbs and such, there is going to be a higher chance to stun them. So this is why this one is kind of put in there as well with that stun chance. But anyway, that is going to be it for the video. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.